What's up guys, welcome to the channel. So as you can see by the title of this video, we are going to be going over a bunch of different places to farm for reagents. I was inspired to make this video because I'm currently doing a crafting quest and I was like farming for a bunch of reagents, right? And I didn't really know the best places to get a lot of them, so I was having to look it up every single time, like all individually look up, oh, like where to farm for this, where to farm for this. And I had to go to like a different Reddit post every time. Some of them were like 5 years old. And I was like, I should just make my own video, just like compiling all this together into one spot so like other people can just come to this video if they need to farm for reagents and just know where to get certain reagents and not have to go like through a bunch of different Reddit posts and Reddit threads to find it. So yeah, we're going to be going over a bunch of different reagents. Pretty much we're going to only be covering like lower level reagents, like basically low to mid-level reagents and where to farm them and where's like the best place to farm them. So hopefully this video can be helpful to new players as well, if any new players happen to be watching this, and also older players, but I'm sure older players already know like where to best farm for reagents. I also want to quickly apologize for any like potential lag in this video. I'm literally recording on like a crappy laptop, so if there's any lag, just please try to ignore it. I know it's so bad. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. So first things first, I want to talk about what reagents are and what they're used for. So reagents in Wizard101 are kind of like items that you can pick up that are primarily used for crafting. I don't think they're used for anything outside of crafting. And since reagents are used in crafting, you can use them to craft stuff like gear, clothing, weapons, housing items, stuff like that, right? But having said that, it can be pretty hard to find a lot of them, right? Especially if you're newer and you have less experience. And some reagents in general are just really annoying to farm for, especially if you don't have like a route to farm them. So hopefully this video can kind of share some info and spread some light on where to find reagents and where to best farm for reagents. The last note that I want to leave here is that a lot of reagents can be gotten through transmute cards. Transmute cards are cards that you can get from specific vendors all across the game, and you can use the transmute cards at a card crafting station to actually transfer, or I guess transmute, one reagent into another. So for example, the transmute acorn card, I'm pretty sure it transmutes like 12 mistwood into one acorn. And the reason why these cards exist is because things like acorn can only be obtained pretty much through RNG from picking up mistwood, right? So you can end up getting a bunch of mistwood and not very many acorns at all. So you can transfer the mistwood that you got into acorns to make your life a little bit easier. So having said that, I'm not going to be going over any materials that can be transmuted and where to get them, just because like obviously it's pretty RNG drops, and with the items that I'm showing you how to farm for or where to farm for, you'll be able to transmute those items into other stuff anyways. So yeah, that's the last thing. So let's get into the best places to farm for reagents in Wizard101. Alright, yo, so before we actually begin, I just want to quickly say I added this in post. I briefly said something about the transmute, and I will continue to say stuff about the transmute later, I'm pretty sure. But I just want to quickly share the transmute vendors really quick in the first arc. So all the vendors from Wizard City up to Dragonspire. And I just want to quickly share that because like I feel like I didn't address it enough. So you can buy the transmute cards from certain vendors that I am going to be sharing with you really quick before we get into the actual farming locations, just in case you're not aware or like you're a newer player and you don't know how the transmute stuff works. So I'm going to go into more detail on that right now, and I'll show you where you can buy all the cards right now. So let's go. Alright, so the first transmute vendor is Eudora Tangletree in she's in Old Town in Wizard City, right next to the bazaar. So if you come over to her and you open her up, and I believe it's in recipe shop, and then you scroll over to cards right here, She sells some transmute, so transmute acorn, blood moss, flax, leather, and mandrake. So basically what you do with these cards is for 15 mistwood, you can convert it into 1 acorn. And so this is the first vendor. She sells a bunch of these. I do recommend buying like all of these because you're probably going to need them at some point, and they only cost a small amount of gold. This is the first. So the second transmute vendor is in the Oasis in Crocotopia. You just want to run over here, and you come over here. This one is the apprentice crafter. If you go to his recipe shop, and you go again over here, he sells some transmutes, so you can transmute parchment into ancient scrolls. You can transmute bones, or you can transmute bronze gear into bones. Deep mushroom into nightshade, which is a super useful one, and then you can transmute deep mushroom and cattail into parchment, which is also a very useful one. So actually in this video I didn't even cover where to get parchment, so really quick I'm going to say right now there is a bunch of parchment that you can get in. I believe Crocosphinx is a really good spot for parchment. If you go into the Grand Arena area, that's where you can get a bunch of parchment. And also I believe there's some in the Pyramid of the Sun. Or of course you can come right here and transmute them, because I do cover where you can find deep mushroom and cattail. So yeah, these are all super useful, so go ahead and buy all of them. Again, it's William in the Oasis in Crocotopia. Alright, so I'm sure you're noticing a pattern at this point that all of the transmute vendors are just crafting people, like the people who you do the crafting quests for. So yeah, so the next transmute vendor is in Regent Square. It's Felicia Worthington. If you talk to her, recipe shop, then go over to cards, she sells transmute bronze gear, transmute diamond, transmute scrap iron, and transmute spring. These are all super useful, so I recommend buying them all. I think you should just buy every single recipe, honestly, so I don't have to keep saying that. So this is the next transmute vendor. The next vendor is Tosho in the Jade Palace of Mushu. He sells some transmutes as well. So he has transmute Black Lotus, transmute Black Pearl, transmute Spider Silk, and transmute Water Lily. So I'm just actually going to buy all these right now as well. So yeah, these are super useful, especially transmute Black Lotus and transmute Black Pearl, just because there's not very many Black Lotus spawns. Like, I mean, there's a bunch, but as we'll cover later in the video, there's not very many, like, close together, like easy farmable locations. So this is also a super duper useful transmute card to have. And the final vendor that we're going to be covering in this video is in the Athenium in Dragonspire. If you come talk to Balthazar Dragonthorn, he sells some transmutes as well. So he has transmute Ectoplasm, transmute Fire Blossom, transmute Fossil, and transmute Lava Lily. But yeah, from here on out, the rest of the vendors are just pretty... Oh. So from here on out, the rest of the vendors are just going to be the people who you talk to for the crafting quests. So I'm not going to keep on covering them all. The rest of them do sell some pretty good transmutes, of course. But since this video, the scope of this video isn't really that far, it's mostly just for beginners and mid-tier players, so it's only going to really be covering Arc 1. So yeah, these are the best, these are the vendors for Arc 1. Okay, bye. Okay, actually I lied. There is technically one more Arc 1 vendor. He's in Grizzleheim, just in Northgard, right in front of the spiral door, is Torald Wayfinder. He does also sell some transmutes. He sells a bunch of transmutes, which are all super useful, so go get these as well. Alright, so the first farming location is going to be in Merkholm Keep in Grizzleheim. This place is really good for farming a bunch of ore very quickly. So you're going to want to start out at this little teleport area, and if you come here past Osric, there is a bunch of ore that you can farm if you just follow this path. So the first location is typically right here to the side of this little like cannonball thing. A piece of ore does usually spawn there, and then if you keep following this path, a bunch more ore can spawn. I think there's like 2 spawns right here. You can come down through here. Oh yeah, look, there's a piece of ore right there. You can come down through here, and usually a piece of ore will spawn somewhere in here. Yeah, I think there's someone actually here farming ore as well. But yeah, you can come down through here. I think they grabbed that piece of ore that was over there. But yeah, then you can keep coming through here. And if you come down here as well, look, yeah, they're farming a bunch of ore. You know, we're gonna swap realms actually. Okay, yeah, so we're back at the start in a new realm because I'm pretty sure that person was also farming ore. But yeah, here's our first piece of ore. And you can get diamond as well, back in that corner. Come down through here, scan if there's any ore. Always go down in these crevices because there's also a lot of ore that spawns down here usually. Doesn't look like there's any in here this time. So then just keep on running down through here. Let's see, look if there's ore. There's ore over there. So we can go ahead and pick that up. There's more ore over here. Let's go down through here, see if there's anything. Yep, ore right here, right off the bat. Alright, maybe is there some up here? Sometimes you can get lucky and ore will spawn in these in this area as well. And there's a lot of MISTWOOD that spawns up here too. So if you come over here and you run up through here, yep, there's a MISTWOOD right there. So usually I'll run this path, and then once I get up here, I swap realms and then run all the way back through. So yeah, there's our first spot. A bunch of ore can be got through there, and MISTWOOD. You can transmute ore into diamond if you want, and you can transmute MISTWOOD into acorn. So this is kind of like diamond or MISTWOOD and acorn farm a bit, I guess. So yeah, let's go on to the next farming location. Alright, so the next farming location is located in Marleybone at the Royal Museum. So this place is really, really good for any scrap iron and also MISTWOOD. You can go through counterweight east or west. For this, we're just going to go into the west side. And if you enter the dungeon, there is a buttload of scrap iron and MISTWOOD that can spawn in there, and I think also ore. So if you enter the dungeon, either counterweight east or west, it doesn't matter which one. You just have to enter it. You don't have to fight anything, because as soon as you enter it, you will be greeted with a bunch of ore. So yeah, as you can see, or not ore, but scrap iron and MISTWOOD. So as you can see, here's a really good spot to get scrap iron and spring. There can be, I think, up to like 3 spawns in here. So then when you're done, you just exit out, and then you can go back in the dungeon. You don't have to swap realms or anything, because each time you enter, it counts as a different instance. So you can just leave the dungeon and then enter back in the dungeon. And this is basically like infinite scrap iron and MISTWOOD farm. So yeah, we're in it again. Got a piece of scrap iron. Sometimes you get lucky with spawns. Sometimes you only get like 1 or 2. Yeah, it really depends. But basically, you can just like infinitely do that, and you'll get a buttload of reagents very quickly. If you do this for like 10 minutes, you can get probably upwards of like 30 scrap iron, and you can get springs, MISTWOOD, acorn, and I believe you can also get ore here as well. So yeah, this is really, really good for farming reagents on a... whether you just need it for crafting or if it's double reagents, yeah, this is just a really good spot to go. Alright, so the third pretty decent spot to farm for some reagents is in the shopping district in Wizard City. This place is alright. It's not really like the best place, but it's pretty good for low levels. So you just want to come back through here and just run along the edges behind the buildings. It doesn't look like we got anything this time, which is kind of unlucky, but yeah, usually you can get some MISTWOOD. I believe FLAX spawns here. Deep mushrooms spawn back here as well. So yeah, once you come through here, you can then go up here in this direction. Go through here behind this tree. And then, yeah, here's some more spawns. It's right next to this guy. Then you can run up through here. Sometimes stuff spawns back here. Yeah, we got pretty unlucky with this realm. But you can keep on swapping through realms and grabbing more stuff if you just keep running back on through here. So, I mean, it's pretty decent for, like, low-level reagents. Oh, wait, look at that. We almost missed that. But yeah, it's pretty decent for low-level reagents. But I mean, it's not the best place to farm, but it's something if you're low level and you just need some like pretty quick deep mushrooms. You can come through here and then swap realms once you've collected everything and just keep on farming it over and over, and it's pretty alright. It's pretty good. Alright, the Palace of Fire inside the Pyramid of the Sun in Krokotopia is another pretty good spot to farm for ore and for stone blocks. This place literally had my back when I was like a very low level and I needed a bunch of stone blocks for crafting. You just run through here and you can pick up a bunch of stone blocks and ore. This place is only kind of annoying because a lot of the time the like ore spawns and the reagent spawns are just like in the middle of the road where you have to like almost get pulled by a bunch of enemies to get it. But yeah, so if you just run through the halls and be very careful to not get pulled into a fight by enemies, this place is pretty good for farming reagents, specifically stone blocks and ore. This is another one where you're going to want to swap realms after you've just like stolen everything out of here. But before you do that, you want to really make sure you're running through like each hallway, because ore and blocks, just reagents in general, spawn all throughout this entire section. So you want to really make sure that you're combing through each hallway and not like missing out on any reagents in here. So yeah, here's another piece of ore right here. There's also a lot of silver and wooden chests that you can farm here as well. And like typically at the end of each hallway, there is a chance to spawn a silver chest, and then there's a bunch of like wooden chests in the area. So if you're low level and you need some gold, or you just want to open a bunch of silver chests to maybe get some shocked keys or something, this is also a pretty decent spot to do it at. There's a silver chest right here. Yeah, this place is really, really good for stone blocks at a low level. Honestly, I think even at like a high level, you can come here to farm for stone blocks and ore if you need it. Sometimes a silver chest will spawn right back in this corner right here. Yeah, so it's a pretty decent spot to farm for reagents if you need it. And then once you're done, you just swap realms, and then you can keep going through the halls over and over to get a bunch of reagents. So the next reagent we're going to be taking a look at is actually FLAX and frosted FLAX. And there are two main locations that I know are pretty good to farm for this. First of all, they're all over Wizard City, so it's not a very rare one. But if you're looking for a faster, more like condensed spot to farm them at, or a concentrated spot to farm them at, there's two locations. The first one is going to be pretty much this entire upper half of Old Town. So there's a couple spawns. Sometimes he can spawn, or not he, but sometimes FLAX will spawn right behind Gold Cap over here. Sometimes it will spawn over on that ledge. If it's not over there, then it can spawn over in here. Yeah, look. Over on this ledge, some can spawn. This spot is really, really good because there's like 5 spawns, I want to say. And it respawns very, very quickly. I want to say like less than 10 seconds, it will respawn. Another spawn location is right here next to Sergeant Muldoon, and then the other two locations are both sides of the entrance to Cyclops Lane it can spawn. So yeah, this is a really good spot to get it because there's only a couple spawns for it, and they're all relatively close to each other, and it respawns in like literally like less than 10 seconds. So you can just come back up here, check each corner, and then if it's not down there, then you know that it's probably going to be spawning over here. You also sometimes want to check right behind here. Yeah, this is kind of like a blind spot, but sometimes it'll spawn right behind here in that corner. So be sure to check that one if you're not seeing it anywhere else. This place is also pretty good because you can also take a little detour and get a cattail as well. I know that there's some stuff that spawns. I think another FLAX spawns down here, but it kind of is like slower if you go all the way down. So if you just focus on coming up here, and just farming the FLAX in the like top half of Old Town, it's really really good. It respawns super fast, and there's not very many spawns, and they're all really close together. So yeah, I'd say this is probably the best location to farm for FLAX at. The second best spot to farm for FLAX, I'd have to say, is in Nightside, in front of the School of Death in Wizard City. It's not as good of a spot, but there's like 3 spawns. It can spawn right there, it can spawn back here, and then it can spawn over here behind Mortis. And this spot is pretty decent just because it's more, it's a smaller area than the top half of Old Town. However, I must say that it does respawn a bit slower than in Old Town, so it's kind of like a trade-off there. But this place isn't bad if you just need some quick FLAX and you don't feel like running all the way around all of the top half of Old Town for it. You can just kind of stand right here and wait for it to respawn. So yeah, this is probably the second best place to farm for FLAX. I still would consider Old Town instead of this, just because I feel like it's a bit easier. But yeah, both get the job done. So yeah, I'd say those are the 2 best places to farm for FLAX. I know we just covered that the shopping district is a pretty decent spot to get deep mushrooms, but I have to say another really good spot to get it is actually in this entire area. It is the Wild in Avalon, specifically Toadstool Village. If you have Avalon unlocked, this is another pretty decent spot to get some Mistwood and also some deep mushrooms. They spawn pretty frequently around here. You just have to like look around a bit. I know that one spawns up here. I'm pretty sure there's another spawn over there next to Shane, or I guess behind Shane. And then you can kind of just run around through here. Yeah, here's another spawn down here. Damn, triple, that's lucky. And if you just keep on running around through here, it's a pretty decent spot for deep mushrooms and mistwood. More specifically deep mushrooms though, just because I know there's a lot of spawns all throughout this area. This is also an area you don't really need to swap realms just because it respawns pretty quickly. You can swap realms if you want to, but I've found personally at least that I don't really need to swap realms when I'm farming for them here, just because they seem to respawn like very, very quickly. Yeah, to my knowledge, I think this is probably one of the best places to farm for deep mushrooms. I know that Mushu is also another spot for low levels to farm for deep mushrooms, but in regards to Mushu, it's not as concentrated. It's kind of like they're just scattered all across Mushu. So I think this is the best like concentrated area to farm for deep mushrooms at, because it's a bunch of spawns that are all pretty decently close together. So yeah, if you're looking for deep mushrooms and you have Avalon unlocked, I would say that this is probably going to be your go-to. Otherwise, if you don't have this area unlocked, you can just run around Mushu and you'll probably find a bunch there. And also, in the shopping district, there is quite a bit that we covered earlier. Well, speaking of Mushu, here we are at the ancient burial grounds, at specifically the northern pasture. But really, all throughout here is a pretty decent spot to farm for some Black Lotus. Black Lotus is kind of one of those reagents where you're gonna end up with a lot just through picking them up, like during the Mushu quest line. But really, there's not like a very concentrated area of them where there's just like a bunch that you can get. It's kind of just like you gotta run around a bit and hopefully you'll pick up some on the way. But specifically in the ancient burial ground, it's a pretty decent spot to get them. There's a couple spawns all throughout here. So I think if you just like run around long enough and swap realms enough, you'll end up getting quite a few. I know that sometimes it spawns back here. Yep, there we go. There's a spawn. I think to my knowledge, this is probably the best way to get Black Lotus quickly. Just because, yeah, like I said, this isn't one of those reagents where there's a very centralized way of farming it. It's kind of just like they're just sprawled out across all of Mushu, and you have to just really run around and just kind of get lucky with where they spawn at. But I believe this is probably the best way to farm them. Just really running around this area in the ancient burial grounds and just swapping realms a bunch and hoping that you can find a lot of them. I'm not gonna lie, I am far too lazy to run around all of Mushu for the next like 5 minutes to find more Black Lotus, but you're gonna have to take my word for it. We already found a couple here, so I think this is probably the best spot to farm for Black Lotus. So yeah. Alright, y'all, for this last area, we have probably the most OP cattail farming run, like, ever. Like, this is basically infinite cattail glitch. So what you want to do is come over here to Digmore Station in Marleybone, and you just want to leave a mark right here in front of this fountain. So there's going to be 2 cattails, I think 2 to 3 cattails that spawn in this fountain each time. And then once you pick those up, you want to come over here to Hyde Park. Alright, so once you've made it to Hyde Park, you want to go to this teleport hub. You want to go back to the teleport hub. And then from here, you want to turn around and then just run all the way to the fountain. Oh, here's a stone block, so let's just pick that up real quick. But yeah, you want to run all the way through here, back to this fountain over here. And this is absolutely OP for getting cattails. There's 1 cattail, 2 cattail, 3 cattail, 4 cattail, and 5 cattails, right? And then we're not done. From here, you want to teleport to Regent's Square, all the way to Regent's Square. Now that you're in Regent's Square, there's typically like 3 cattail spawns right in this fountain here. And then once you grab all of those, you can teleport back to Digmore Station and do this run all over again as many times as you want. And it's like literally infinite cattail glitch. You will get so many cattails in just like 10 minutes of doing this. But yeah, and now that I've teleported back to Digmore Station without even having to swap realms, there's already more cattails waiting. So yeah, this is just absolutely broken when it comes to getting cattails. You're gonna have literally so many after doing this just a couple times. So yeah, guys, those are the best places to farm for reagents in Wizard101. You can use these during double reagents, or just if you need to farm for certain reagents to craft those are the best places to get those reagents. If I missed any places, you can leave them in the comments down below. If there's any other best, runs for certain reagents, or any just reagents I didn't cover and you know of some places to farm for them, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments. This video didn't cover too many reagents because I wanted it to be more beginner to mid-level friendly, and these are some of the reagents that you'll need, at least for first arc crafting. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and maybe subscribe. I don't know. Just it's up to you. It's up to you. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.